Good evening. Welcome back to State of Current Affairs with Viki, Esther, Chang, and Lillian Cauldwell, host. Viki, as you know, is from Singapore, and Lillian, as you know, is from Warnersville, Pennsylvania, in the United States. So far, we haven't succeeded from the Union. We are on Passionate World Talk Radio Network, a wholly owned subsidiary of Global Media Network, LLC. Educate, enlighten, entertain. Thank you for all your comments on YouTube, on State of Current Affairs, and State of Business and Technology. Please keep them coming. And now on to the show. Good morning, Vicki.
Hi, everyone. It's 10:12 p.m., the 3rd of December. Hey, we are coming to the final days of 2024, and I think 2025 is going to herald a new hopeful year for us. Hopefully, the war is going to stop. We don't know what's going to happen. I mean, it could enlarge. Look at what's happening in Lebanon and Syria with the Russian missiles going to Syria right now. And then we don't know what's going to happen in South China Sea, what's going to happen with Taiwan, and what's going to happen with North Korea. They have kind of been silent for a while. Their missiles have not hit over into the skies of Japan, which they did last year. It went into the skies of Japan, and Japan protested, and that was North Korea. So we don't know 2024. As Mr. Donald Trump, your president, he loves the word unpredictability. So we never know what it's going to do, and we never know what the world is going to be. We don't know where the third point of conflict is going to be. We don't know if it's going to be enlarged to a world war. We don't know if the wars around the regions are going to diminish. We really don't know. I mean, it could go this way, it could go this way. I mean, it's just anyone's guess. So we at the mercy, we the people in the main street, we have got no influence on policies. We have got no influence on the G20 or G7. Um, we are just at the mercy, right? I mean, we try so hard to get our voices heard. I think one day there may be a movement, and that's why the social media is. I've always told my counterparts like yourself, Lillian, and my fellow podcasters like Jamil, the social media is one of the most powerful forces right now. I mean, it can move the world, and that's why you've got um, the richest man on earth, Elon Musk, buying up Twitter because he calls that the town hall of the world. So he knows that the social media, the speeches, and the voices of the people is the most important movement and the force in the world. That's why he went into um, scoop up a deal of Twitter. That's the only reason I could think of, and get his voice heard and get everyone heard. But he's going to control the conversations of the world. And if governments understand, governments know that the media, traditional media, is the fourth arm of government. And if they let the social media rule in the space, in the digital world, governments will slowly lose control of the narrative. So you never know if one day all the governments will just cut the internet, they just cut that satellite, and you and I may not even be able to talk. Now, Lillian, that's not inconceivable. That could be conceived when governments come in and they decide that, this is like going too much. We want to preserve our power. We want to preserve the narrative. We want to shut down the voices. They could just cut the internet and create firewalls just like China, right? I mean, people still could go into the PVNs, the private network, but China largely has kept its country secluded um, from the rest of the World Wide Web. So we don't know that could happen. So Lillian, 2025, it's anyone's guess. However, we do know that AI will take over the world. So that's a little bit about.
Yeah, I think Elon Musk is going to lose to AI because he may be very wealthy, but he doesn't have the brain capacity.
So so we will talk about a bit about state of um, to promote our new show, State of Business and Technology, tomorrow. Really, really short ones, really, really short episode, um, 30 minutes or less. Hopefully, all the current listeners and the viewers will stick with us on every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday for 30 minutes of state of current affairs and 30 minutes of state of business and technology. So without further ado, I'm going to talk about today a couple of articles about something called Blue Zone. I'm not quite sure if the listeners and the viewers heard about this terminology, something that came out this year by a very, the book and the write up and the research has taken some parts of the world by storm. So, what are blue zones? If you look at um, 7Cs worldwide.com, 7Cs worldwide.com, they will define blue zones. And of course, I'm going to go to Wikipedia and share with everyone the definition of blue zones. Blue, Bluezone. Blue zone, blue zones. Here, what are blue zone countries? Blue zone countries are where the world's healthiest people live. Now, five countries or five spots in the world are identified as blue zones, and Singapore is identified as the sixth blue zone. What are blue zones? Blue zones are regions where people have a longer life expectancy than the rest of the world. The term was popularized by explorer and author Dan Buttner in 2004. However, it has been revitalized and revisited only this year. There are five blue zones as identified by the explorer, Mr. Dan Buttner. Um, the first blue zone is Japan, Okinawa. Number two, Greece, Ikaria. Number three, USA, Loma Linda. Number four, Costa Rica, Nicoya, place, a place in Costa Rica. So these are the five blue zones that has been identified by author and explorer Mr. Dan Buttner. It says that people in blue zone countries live longer due to number one, strong family ties. Number two, healthy diet. Number three, regular exercise. Number four, respectful treatment of elders.
In the United States, I doubt that.
So that's really interesting. So we should explore um, what defines blue zones. It says that blue zones are regions spanning four continents where people have longer life expectancy than the rest of the world, including a higher concentration of centenarians or people over 100 years old. We know that Japanese, a lot of the population of Japanese are over 100 years old. Individuals who live to be 100 years old or older. This non scientific term was popularized by National Geographic explorer and author Dan Buttner in 2004, who established these five blue zones in his book called the Blue Zones Lessons for Living Longer from the People Who Have Lived the Longest. Interestingly, research conducted by the National Institute of Health found that genetics only plays a part in 20 to 30% in longevity. Only 20 to 30%. So the rest of um, 80 to 70% are factors that is within your control. And these are the five places we've identified: Japan, Greece, particular place in America, California called Loma Linda, um, Sardinia, Italy, and Costa Rica, Nicoya. And the term blue zone arose when Butner and his colleagues used a blue pen to draw circles on a map around regions with the longest lived populations. Um, so there's a map here that says these are the five blue zones that you can see in the link below. Um, why do people in blue zones live the longest? There are several reasons that explain why people live longer in blue zones, including a larger focus on family, tree, a diet rich in fruits and vegetables, regular exercise, and respectful treatment of elders. The first country is Okinawa. We've talked about that, etc. And it's got lots of graphs that shows um, the longest living people there, which I won't talk about, but you can take a look at it. And I am going to show um, another definition, the graphs that people live the longest. But I am going to talk about the next article about Singapore. Singapore, look at bbc.com. Singapore is identified as the world's sixth blue zone, and why Singapore values both quantity and quality of life. When it comes to longevity, few people in the world have seen such drastic jump in life expectancy as the island city state in Singapore. Um, a child born in 1960 was only expected to live at that time to 65. However, a child born today can expect to live more than 86 years old. And the number of centenarians in Singapore doubled over a 10-year period from 2010 to 2020. And the huge jump in longevity was largely been driven by intentional government policy in Singapore. And the distinction was enough to identify Singapore as the blue zone, the sixth blue zone after Japan, Greece, Americas, a small little place called Loma Laria in California. I don't know if you've heard about that. And also another place in Costa Rica, and Singapore is the sixth blue zone. Now let me share with you these factors that has been identified by Dan Butner. Number one, it says that um, uh, genetics play only 20 to 30% in longevity. Um, Number one, the other number two factor is your diet. A diet that's rich in fresh fruits and vegetables. I would like to say that this holds true in Singapore. A lot of us are food fanatics, and I identify myself, I call myself a food extremist when I go to France, because French people are so um, they are so particular about the food that they eat, where they're grown, the pesticides, um, hormones, etc. In France. That the French, I identify them as food. Yeah, one of the people that is so controlling in their diet. However, in Singapore, fruit and vegetables play a very big part in our diet, and even grains. And I would call grains as part of vegetables because it is a non-living thing. And I mean, it is part of grain, right? Maize, grains, rice, etc. Um, I'm just going to like share with the listeners and the viewers my diet, and my diet is not a typical diet, but you can find a lot of people um, have similar philosophy regarding diet in Singapore. Number one, people do not diet for slimming here. Very little people diet for slimming, but people are very particular about what they eat. Amongst my peers, for example, we do have a lot of health. We do take a lot of health supplement. You take the fish oil, you take the omegas, and you have the B complex for health, for brain health, for executive stress, for brain health, and also you have the probiotics, the prebiotics. Now they call it the postbiotics. New terminologies that come in. But of course, one of the things I would like to say is that supplements are never as good as real life living wholesome whole foods. Now they come in only when you do not have a proper diet because you're running from place to place and you don't even have a proper time for food. Right? For example, I've got friends who take a lot of food. For example, food that are identified as probably good for brain health. We take a lot of food to increase brain health because, for example, in Singapore, we work a lot, we think a lot, and sometimes we overthink too much over here in Singapore. We take a lot of food for brain health, and some of the food we take for brain health is mushrooms. There are lots of things for mushrooms. It's for longevity also, but it does have its all nutrients in it, polysaccharides. I'm not going to go into, but I'm just going to say that when people take their food, they make sure that they have their veg, they have their grains, they have their vegetables, and people here take less dairy products like milk. And I think we take less processed food here. If and we watch out for at least a meal a day and not overeat many meals uh, within the day. We You don't see people trying to eat like 5 meals a day. For myself, I take one meal per day, and that meal for me is sufficient. If I take my brown rice, I take my whole meal or whole wheel um, pancake that I do myself. Sometimes when I have time, I will buy blueberries or raspberries. But blueberries are really expensive here in Singapore because they got to ship from South Africa or Australia. By the time they ship from South Africa, Australia, refrigerate it, ship it to the shopping market, and then it's going to perish within the week, the prices are expensive. It could be crazy. So I will try as much as possible to take my grains. My grains are number one. My grains are a brown rice. Sometimes I take millet. There are times when I can take my quinoa if I have time to shop, but otherwise I'll have my whole meal oats, organic oats from Canada. Again, they're shipped, right? It's either from Finland or from Canada. By the time they reach your shelf, they've marked up like 5 times, 10 times the price. But I think it's important that you get your. I would categorize oats as part of my grains. They are highly impactful, compact with lots of nutrients. Um, that start your day and your mornings, your work ahead. If I were to explain my diet, I can't live without my grains, which is my brown rice or my oats. I usually get them organic. Hopefully they're tested. Hopefully they are tested, but if not, from the country that they are sourced. Organic oats from Australia, New Zealand, or Canada, and wholemeal, meaning that whole oats, meaning that they are rolled, meaning that they actually retain the B complex in it. The reason why a lot of people suffer from depression, yes, because the serotonin levels are low, but you can supplement your brain health by B complex. And B complex is highest in liver. um, you can get it from beef, I should say cow liver. You can get it from chicken liver, or you can get it from pork liver. But because a lot of us do not take offals, which is organs, the next best thing for brain health is really your B complex found in unpolished grains. And I think Lillian will agree with me, because Lillian is such a wise person. You will agree with everything I said, because I have done like 20 years of reading, right? On this. I think people forget, and I hope that your new minister or director for health will implement such new knowledge to let people know, because one of the sources of depression is because we're not having enough of the right food for your brain health. Um, I mean, brain health, you need your RNA from fish. You need your omega 3, 6, 12 from fish, fish oils. You need B complex. So for Singaporeans, a lot of us take our food seriously if we have the time. If not, we try to avoid the show. Yes, we're back. So, not only that, a lot of us do invest in supplements. And now, again, supplements for your antioxidants, they are so important, because we're living in an environment that's so toxic. You've got people who are smokers, you're people who are vapors. I mean, I don't understand why people get addicted. I'm not quite sure if Lillian does that, but I think a lot of us try to avoid smoke. I mean, if you're wise enough, people do try to avoid this, because life is worthwhile for you to have a quality life, for you to avoid that. And I can't even think about what is more important than have a quality life. If you have a quality life, it means that you want to avoid a lot of things that will affect you. Not because you're paranoid, not because you just want to be slim, but slimming down, getting rid of fat is actually a byproduct of a healthy lifestyle, right? You don't go on slimming just because you want to slim, just because you want to inject yourself with Ozempic. I think it's pronounced that, but I think it's you being healthy, you being slim, you being having good mental health and physical health is a byproduct of your choices, the choices of food, the choices of your lifestyle. So in Singapore, I do think that people are, in general, very observant about what they eat. And a couple of things about respectful. Another um, a factor for longevity. Surprisingly, it says that respectful of your elders.
That means you
Um,
don't get hit with an umbrella.
you don't need them an umbrella. I would say that the value of food and the value of healthy food doesn't permeate through the whole society. There are segments of the society where people are very concerned about their food, because they're educated. They 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 really want to make sure that they eat healthy. The other part of Singapore culture is very much into our very Oriental Eastern culture. Is we are really respectful of the elders here. I think in a Western society, I don't want to generalize, because it is very dangerous to generalize. But there are pockets of people in the world, right? I'm just going to say in the world, in different civilizations. Different age groups are treated in a different way. Women, gender is treated in a different way. A different age group is treated in a different way. When you're younger, you're more beautiful. You show your cleavage. You are treated in a different way. You show your. I don't know. My friend was just saying in Las Vegas, the women they look really good in Las Vegas. Um, we don't look that good here in Singapore. We try to avoid a lot of things that is artificial, but we do respect our elders. But I should say that value could slowly be eroded uh, and it's nothing is for sure, nothing is certified guaranteed with a certificate. You are always being bombarded by challenges of life. We do respect elders. One of the things that we don't do in our society, like in Singapore, at the age of 18 we do not leave home. We stay with our families, of course, within the nucleus. We call it the nucleus of the family. That is, you've got your child, you've got your grandchildren, you've got your mothers, your dads, and also you've got your grandparents. Usually, in a typical family, you've got three generations under one roof, and it's always a value to have three generations under one roof, and it's quite common here in a very Oriental or Eastern Indo-Pacific society. It is part of the culture, and one of the things is that we do feel that with the old, or with people who are more senior, we call them. We view them as people who has been through life, and we view them as people seniors who have gone through that very difficult times. Um, Hopefully, and I think they are. They could show wisdom, so we try not to, and I don't think we have the culture of leaving them in the old folks home. We don't have that yet, not in a lot of societies that I've visited. um, the good thing about having three generations in a home is that the children or the kids are left in the safety of the care of the elders, so you don't have to get a nanny, right? And you always feel safe, because when you have your children uh, put in a stranger's hand, there's always risk. But a lot of things is about pragmatism. You feel, I mean, it's always about it's more convenient and it's cheaper, right? Than getting a maid. So, but we do have, it is very common to have foreign maids within the household to take care of the elderlies and also to take care of the children at the same time. So, I would say that two factors alone, I could share with everyone, the viewers and the listeners, is that it is very prevalent here. And if a Dan Butner is accurate, then six, and Singapore is the sixth blue zone. And probably one other factor is exercise. I think um, some of us here are health fanatics. Just to share with everyone, um, I think what my lifestyle, because this, just to share. I just had again my 6 minutes of abs. I try to do like between 6 to 15 minutes of ab exercise, means crunches. You should do that, because if you fail, for me, if you fail in everything else, you don't have time, and you feel that your knees are aching, lie down on the bed or on the floor, just do your crunches. All right, that's to me, that's the lazy man's way of health, because when you do your crunches, you do your sit-ups. If you can't do your sit-ups, right, you should do your crunches, because that's where all your organs are, right, at your waist, right? You've got your kidney, you've got your liver, you've got your spleen or whatever. You've got your colon, you've got your intestines. Um, Everything is there. So if you don't do anything else, right? Don't You don't even need to do weights, because weights are, yes, you need to have strength, but to me, nothing is more important than getting rid of your visceral fats, and that starts from your waist, right, the midsection. And the bulging of the midsection really determines your health. And I think, Lillian, if you've read, and then viewers and listeners, if you've read history, um, in those times when there isn't any hospitals and any equipment to measure your health, like now you go there, you've got your MRIs. In those days when there isn't, historically, you measure the dimension of your waist. So your waist is actually an indication of your health. Your waist should never be larger than your chest. Okay, not about women, but generally it should not. Now that there are some dimensions, but in those days, they measure health, just about the dimension from there. So I think if you do not if you do not have time for the walk, right? And I think I urge everyone, no matter what age you are on your bed. Now do 1 minute of crunches. That's all I am saying. Right? Okay, do 1 minute. I'm just gonna challenge you. 1 minute. That's it. 60 seconds. 60 seconds. You can do it. So again, blue zone. These are the five countries plus Singapore six. One last definition, just to get this into your brains. Um, just to get this very important thing about what Wikipedia says about blue zones, so that everyone will remember forever. Oh, okay, there's no battery in my phone. A quick one, just a very quick. What Wikipedia says now, ladies and gentlemen, health is in your hands. You spoil it, right? It's up to you. Don't ask a doctor to recover your health. A doctor does not help you with your health. A doctor can only tell you what's the state of your health, and is only going to give you drugs when any of your organs fail. It's nothing to do with health. Your healing and your health got to do with you. You got to work at it. Now, blue zone is in Wikipedia. Blue zone is a region in the world where people are claimed to have exceptionally long lives beyond the age of 80 due to lifestyle combining physical activity, low stress, rich social interactions, a local whole foods diet, low disease incidence. Right? I'm not going to talk about the things, anything, but this is so important for us just to get it ingrained in your health. It is about your lifestyle, and it's never too late. Even if you're 70, even if you're 60, it's never too late to do your 1 minute or your 60-second crunch. And because if you do it incrementally, and if it's short enough, you tell yourself you can do it. Don't tell yourself like I'm gonna like walk an hour. There's no need to. Start by something small, achievable, within your means, and on your bed. So goal setting, it should be smart, right? Within a time frame, it's short, it's achievable, it's measurable, etc. So get that done from today. So that's um, a very quick explanation of what blue zones are. Now, there is a movement, a similar concept, a movement by this American technology tycoon. His name is Brian Johnson. He's a billionaire. Brian Johnson is really young. He's in his 40s, mid 40s. How this US multimillionaires cult like don't die movement made me rethink my reason for living. Tech tycoon Brian Johnson founded the Don't Die movement for people who want to live longer, healthier, and happier. A reasonable philosophy until Don't Die. Okay, he was in Singapore for a summit called Don't Die just like 2 months ago. He's American. He's very good looking. He's trying to turn back his clock, and he successfully done so by turning his clock about 15 years. And you can measure your biological clock by a machine, a weighing machine from Germany. I used to have a weighing machine. It's not expensive. The Germans have all sorts of innovation. I'm not sure if Lillian or any of the listeners or viewers have actually had that. You can actually buy in the shopping center or in the shopping malls. It doesn't cost a lot. You step on it, and usually they're made by the Germans. You step on it, and it tells you instantly your weight, of course, but it also tells you your biological age. And then what Brian Johnson does is that he has for the last 3 to 4 years has this very strict regime, getting doctors to change his diet, measure his mental health, physical health, biological health. He does his exercise. He has his diet patterns and his diet regimen. The dietary patterns are changed, and it has all sorts of measurements to measure his health, to track his aging process, and he's able to reverse his age by about 15 years, and now he's almost the same age as his son biologically. And he has achieved that with his father, changing the clock, the biological clock of his father, about like 20 years. So the father is, I think, is about his 70, but is able to turn back the clock to about 50 years. So read that. That's Brian Johnson. If you go to Google, well, look at the link below. You will know him, and his name is Brian Johnson, and his movement is Don't Die. So there you have it. About 30 minutes. I've overshot the time, Lillian. Five blue zones plus one Singapore, and also Brian Johnson from USA, who is devoting himself to the movement of Don't Die. And I think that's relevant to a lot of the listeners and the viewers, Lillian. Over to you.
I think so. However, my theory is if that there's going to be a war, why stick around for it? Although my station manager would love to stick around and see what the brave new world is going to look like. And I've been reading science fiction since I was a child, so that would be around 1950s. So that takes me pretty much through 50 years plus my 23 years in the 21st century. I'm curious, but I'm not that curious wanting to live forever. To me, that's you do live forever because the energy that's stored within your body is recycled. It doesn't die. Your matter, your human body, your shell, yes, that deteriorates, but your energy, that which makes you up internally, is just recycled through the universe. So everybody lives forever. It's just they don't remember it. And as for the diet,
But
I've
you
been on
know,
the med.
yeah, and but you know, Lillian, hopefully I can talk about that tomorrow.
Okay.
Through the latest AI technology, you can live forever. We're gonna talk about that tomorrow.
Okay. Well, we won't get into that now. And let's see, the blue zones. Well, California, that doesn't surprise me. It's a warmer climate, and they're able to grow all kinds of things over there and stuff. So I can see that. But I really believe that it's more of your attitude towards life and death that determines how long you live. And it's not so much what you eat or how much exercise. I mean, my I had a cousin whose uncle was a diehard alcoholic, and he lived way past 100. And the doctors thought he died from alcoholism, somewhere in his 60s. The guy lived to 108, 109. So maybe he was so pickled he couldn't die. But I think what it really is was his attitude towards life. And if you
I mean,
give up on
looking at
yourself,
all the politicians in America, it seems like people are not dying.
well, I don't think Donald Trump is so much unpredictable as that he throws temper tantrums when he can't get what he wants with the other politicians. They throw temper tantrums. And usually temper tantrums do work after a fashion. I don't think it has anything to do with being unpredictable. He's very predictable because he's going to throw a temper tantrum every time he doesn't get his way or he isn't in the spotlight. So it's a matter of opinion. I mean, he can be whatever he wants. Personally, he's a Yahoo to me. But since he never read Gulliver's Travel, I'm pretty sure he wouldn't know what a Yahoo is. Well, be that as it may, that's not important. I want to thank everybody for listening to us. We did have one or two listeners on YouTube. Thank you very much for listening to us. I'm sorry you did not stay for the entire show, but I'm pretty sure you got an earful for the time you did remain with us. And I want to remind everybody you can see this all over again, either going to YouTube at Passionate World Radio or going over to our website, passionworldtalkradio.com. Scroll down till you hit State of Current Affairs, click on it, takes you to a web page, click on the Google link, and it gets you into the belly of the YouTube beast. And you can see all our current State of Current Affairs videos, along with all of our other podcasts. And the beauty of that is you can go back as many times as you want and listen to them, and this time pay attention and take notes and enjoy yourself, because you'll always hear the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth was us here at State of Current Affairs and State of Business Technology. Our books, the Gold Nugget series, also the books on communication and English, upfront, in your face, how to do, what to do. And if you actually practice what we preach, you will become a better person for that. The show is sponsored by 3 companies. One is located in Singapore, the GDM Metropolis Education Publication Production. Please contact us if you're interested in getting your memoirs out to the world. There are other voices in the world besides celebrities, sports figures, and politicians. What do they know? Oh, I know. They break their word, like Mr. Biden did when he offered that pardon to his son. But hey, he's just following a fine tradition laid down by former President Trump. So what can I say? And also, MyFlex, Ruby AI. It's a no-brainer. Artificial intelligence, learn it today, avoid your problems tomorrow. There's all kinds of ways you can use AI, from personal to faith to spiritual to health to school, business, you name it, it can do it. AI with Lillian.com. And then the third is the Obstacles of Podcast Training, open for middle school, high school, college students. 2 for the price of 1. Go over to our website, education.passionworldtalkradio.com/masterclass. Sign up today. Thank you all very much with keeping us company today. Have a great day. And remember, there's always tomorrow.